said kill those people. Another quote. From what I recall of the incidents that I was at, all of them had guns, and they were pointing them at the pusher-buyers, or they were pointing their guns at the pusher-buyers. At the operations I was at, I'm talking about the operations I was at. The reason that they were killed was because they were pointing their guns at us, or they were firing their guns at the pusher-buyers. That's from the prosecution's own witnesses. Now, let us analyze the other circumstances as set out in paragraphs 24 to 33, inclusive, to see whether a meeting of minds between co-perpetrators is indeed the only reasonable inference in the circumstances. The first indication, and that is that in the late 1980s, in other words, 20 years before the charges in this case, Mayor Duterte allegedly instructed civilian confidants and local police to neutralize. And I stress to neutralize and not to kill criminals. That's what's stated in the PCP. And that he provided weapons and funds for this purpose. Now, I would say that there is nothing untoward in providing policemen or civil volunteers with weapons to carry out their lawful duties. That's what happens in my country. The prosecution has not shown us how arming civilian volunteers is actually illegal. And the burden of proof rests on it. After all, one does not fight crime with kind words and gentle admonishments. The fact that these conscripted civilians understood the words to neutralize to mean to murder is not something for which Rodrigo Duterte must be held responsible. Trust me, had any one of the unreliable, insider, criminal cooperating witnesses substantiating the assertions made in paragraph 24 of the pre-confirmation brief said that Rodrigo Duterte gave a direct order to murder one of the 78 victims, the prosecution's lawyers would have written it into their charges, point blank. But they did not. And furthermore, any false allegation made by cooperating criminal witnesses made years before the charged incidents and without the time frame of the case does not constitute pattern or similar fact evidence indicating a predisposition to murder criminals. Accordingly, the allegations concerning the activities of the so-called Davao Death Squad, formerly the so-called Lambada Boys, are irrelevant both to proving a criminal plan and that such a plan, more importantly, was common to any of the so-called co-perpetrators mentioned in the document containing the charges and released a few days before the confirmation hearing in a lesser redacted version of the PCB. Now, thinking like a prosecutor, I would say that the reason why the prosecution has fixated
mga kabombo, mga ka-Star Nation, nagpapatuloy ng confirmation of charges hearing kung saan